Most people don't think about graveyards after dark. They picture marble stones, flowers on fresh earth, maybe a crow or two. But when you work nights in one, you learn the truth. The dead aren't the only ones here. I took the job at Willow Hill because it was easy money. The old caretaker retired and nobody else wanted the shift. I told myself I wasn't afraid of a few stones and shadows. It was just a patch of land fenced off and forgotten. The first night, I walked the perimeter with a flashlight, boots crunching on gravel paths. The graves stretched in rows, markers leaning with age, some so weathered the names were gone. The air smelled of damp leaves and iron. The guard shack sat at the edge, a box of wood and glass with a radio, a desk, and a single chair. My orders were simple. Log the hours, patrol every half hour, call in if anything unusual happened. Unusual never meant what you think. It meant vandals, stray dogs, drunk kids daring each other. At least that's what I told myself. That first night was calm. Too calm. By midnight, fog had rolled in thick enough to hide the far rows. The world shrank to a circle of flashlight glow. Every sound carried, wind in the branches, gravel shifting under my boots, my own breath fogging the air. I wrote my first note in the logbook. 12, all quiet. Routine. Easy money. At 12:15, I went out again. The mist clung to the stones, curling around the angel statues like smoke. I kept telling myself the shapes moving in the fog were trees, nothing more. Then I saw it. A fresh grave. That shouldn't be possible. The last burial had been weeks ago. I knew because the ground was still uneven from the machines. But this one, row 11, near the oldest section, was a perfect mound of dirt, fresh, damp, as if someone had filled it tonight. I stopped at the edge, beam trembling across the marker. No name on the stone, just a slab, blank and pale. The dirt shifted, just once, a ripple like something underneath pressing up. I stumbled back, nearly dropping the flashlight, my breath fogged in the air, quick and shallow. Dogs, I whispered to myself, burrowing animals. But the soil didn't look disturbed by claws. It looked like it had risen from within. I backed away, forcing my legs toward the shack. When I got there, I grabbed the radio, thumb trembling over the button. But what was I supposed to say? Fresh grave moved by itself? They'd laugh me off the line. Instead, I opened the logbook. Pen scratching, I wrote 12:20. New grave found, soil shifted, possible disturbance. When I set the pen down, the logbook flipped a page by itself. Fresh words sprawled across it in jagged black ink. Keep watching. The pen rolled off the desk and hit the floor. And outside from the fog, I swear I heard earth shifting again. The sound of shifting soil never left my ears that night. Even after I slammed the logbook shut, even after I locked the shack door, I could still hear it. A soft, dragging scrape, like hands pulling through dirt. I told myself it was nothing. A dog, a fox, maybe the ground settling. But the truth was written across the page in front of me. I hadn't written those words. Keep watching. The ink glistened wet. Letters jagged like they'd been scratched into the paper with more than just a pen. I touched them. My finger came back black. I should have called it in right then. Should have told Control something was wrong. But fear makes you stupid. Instead, I shoved the logbook into the drawer and sat in the chair, pretending if I ignored it, it would go away. It didn't. At 12:45, I forced myself back outside. My boots crunched on gravel, echoing far too loud. The fog had thickened until even the nearest stones looked like shadows waiting to move. I aimed my flashlight down row 11. The beam cut through the mist just enough to show the mound of dirt. Still fresh, still damp. I don't know why I walked closer. Curiosity, maybe? Or maybe it was something else, tugging me forward the way a flame draws a moth. The grave looked untouched at first. Then the earth shifted again, a ripple across the mound, slow and heavy, like something beneath the soil was turning over. I froze. My throat clenched. I should have run. Instead, I whispered, "Hello?" The dirt bulged. My flashlight shook in my hand. The soil pushed upward, cracked open, and for a half second I swore I saw fingers. Pale. Reaching. The beam flared, caught the mist, blinded me. When my vision cleared, the mound was smooth again. Perfect. Untouched. I staggered back, heart pounding. My boot hit something hard. I swung the light down. A shovel. Rusty. Half buried in the gravel path, as if someone had dropped it minutes ago. I'd walked this row earlier. It hadn't been there. I crouched, reached for the handle. The wood was damp, cold almost, slimy. My fingers recoiled. Behind me, the gravel shifted. Soft. Careful. I spun, flashlight beam jerking across the fog. Nothing. Just stones staring back at me with hollow names. But the sound kept going. Footsteps in gravel. One, then another. Slow. Deliberate. Coming closer. "Who's there?" My voice cracked. No answer. I stumbled backward until I hit the blank marker of the new grave. My beam darted left, right, slicing fog. Nothing. Then the radio on my belt hissed. Not with static, with breath. Slow, ragged breathing. Inches from my ear. I ripped the radio off and hurled it into the mist. The sound cut out. The silence after was worse. I ran, back towards the shack, boots pounding the gravel, breath tearing my throat. When I slammed the door shut behind me, I bent double, chest heaving. The logbook lay open on the desk again. A new line had been written. "We see you now." The words in the logbook stared up at me. "We see you now." I wanted to tell myself it was another prank, some caretaker's joke scribbled years ago, but the ink was wet. My fingers smeared it across the page. Something out there was watching me. I sat in the shack, hands trembling, trying to steady my breath. Every instinct screamed at me to leave, just walk out, climb into my truck, and drive until the cemetery was nothing but a rumor in the dark. But my truck keys were gone. I'd left them on the hook by the door. Now the hook was empty. I tore through the shack, desk drawers, corners, under the chair, nothing. Only the logbook on the desk, its pages rustling as though a breeze turned them. But the window was closed. I turned the book over, shut it hard and jammed it back into the drawer, locked it this time. But even through the wood, I swore I heard the faint scrape of pen on paper. At 1 a.m., I forced myself to do the next patrol. Anything was better than waiting inside with that book. The fog had thickened so much I could barely see the gravel path at my feet. My flashlight beam seemed swallowed whole. Every stone was a shadow hunched low. Every angel statue, a figure waiting to move. Row 11 pulled me like a string. My boots crunched slower the closer I got. The mound was still there, still fresh, but I wasn't alone anymore. Two figures stood by the grave, tall, thin, shoulders crooked, heads tilted too far to one side. They didn't move, didn't breathe, just stood in the fog, hands dangling at their sides. "Hey!"
My voice shook. "This is private property. You need to leave." No answer. I stepped closer, beam jerking across their faces. My stomach dropped. They didn't have faces. Not really. Just skin stretched blank where features should have been. Smooth. Empty. I stumbled back. My light flickered. When it steadied, the figures were gone. Gravel shifted behind me. I swung the beam. Nothing. Again, to the left this time. Still nothing. Then a voice. Low. Flat. Too close. "Keep watching." I spun in circles, flashlight slicing fog. My chest heaved, heart hammering so loud it drowned the silence. The mound of earth rippled again. This time, a sound followed. A muffled thud. Once. Twice. Like fists pounding from inside the grave. I stumbled backward, boots slipping in wet grass. My beam caught something in the fog. Not the faceless figures. Me. I froze. Another version of myself stood just beyond the fresh mound. Same jacket, same boots, same flashlight in hand. Only it wasn't trembling. It lifted its free hand and pointed at me. The earth shifted again, harder, dirt cracking, breaking. I ran, back through the rows, gravel spraying under my boots. My breath tore out in gasps, fog curling into my lungs. When I reached the shack, I slammed the door and locked it. My hand shook so bad I nearly dropped the bolt. The radio on the desk clicked on, and my own voice whispered through the static. "You can't run from us."
The shack felt smaller every second I stayed inside. The radio still hissed faintly, though I'd turned the power off hours ago. My own voice lingered in the static, faint but steady. "You can't run from us." I shoved the radio off the desk. It clattered to the floor, but the hiss didn't stop. I pressed my hands against my face. My skin felt too cold, like I'd been standing outside all night, but I hadn't. The logbook drawer rattled. I froze, staring at it. The lock quivered, metal straining until I thought it might snap on its own. I backed away slowly, but the drawer didn't open. Not yet. The window caught my eye then. Glass fogged, like someone had leaned against it from the outside. I moved closer, flashlight raised. My own reflection stared back at me. Only, it wasn't mine. The reflection smiled. My lips didn't move, but his did. Stretched too wide, teeth glistening in the dim light, the beam shook in my hand. I whispered, "No." The reflection mouthed something I couldn't hear. I leaned closer, breath fogging the glass. And then the words formed clear. "Dig." I stumbled back, knocking the chair over. The reflection didn't move, still smiling, still mouthing the same word. Dig. My eyes darted to the corner of the shack. The shovel I'd seen earlier leaned against the wall now, rusty, damp. I hadn't brought it in. My skin crawled. The radio crackled louder, a chorus this time, dozens of voices layered, all mine. Dig, dig, dig. I grabbed the flashlight, back toward the door. My breath came short, ragged. Outside, the fog glowed faintly, as if the headstones themselves leaked light. The reflection in the window tilted its head, smile widening. Its hand lifted, pressing against the inside of the glass. But my hands were at my sides. The pane quivered, rattling in the frame. A crack split across it. I bolted. The outside air hit me sharp and damp. My beam cut across row 11 again, almost against my will. The mound of dirt loomed there, wet and waiting. The faceless figures stood around it now, 4 of them, perfectly still. Heads tilted in unison as the light touched them. I wanted to scream, but the sound caught in my throat. My boots crunched closer, step after step. The shovel was in my hand. I don't remember picking it up. Its weight dragged my arm low. The mound shifted again, harder this time,
dirt cracking, sliding down the sides, something pressed from underneath. And all around me, the whisper grew louder. The faceless ones, the radio, even the fog itself. Dig, dig, dig. My hands moved without permission. The shovel bit into the soil, cold earth spraying my boots, again and again. The mound sank, the grave opened. And the last thing I saw before the dirt fell away was a pale hand reaching up, fingers too long, nails black with soil. It touched my boot, and then the ground caved in.
The earth gave way under my boots. I dropped to my knees, flashlight beam jerking wildly as clods of soil tumbled into the pit. The pale hand reached higher, grasping, nails dragging grooves in the dirt. I scrambled backward, shovel clattering from my grip. The mound collapsed inward with a hollow sigh, like lungs deflating. And then, silence. The pit lay open, black and yawning. The hand was gone. My breath tore out in gasps. I lifted the beam, sweeping the grave. Nothing. Just loose earth piled against the sides. Too smooth. Too perfect. Like nothing had ever been there at all. Behind me, gravel crunched. I swung the light. The faceless figures had closed in. No longer 4. 6 now. Standing in a ring around the pit, heads cocked in the same broken angle, blank faces turned toward me. The whisper rose again, layered and low. Deeper! Deeper! I shook my head. My throat tightened until it hurt. No, I'm done. I'm not... The radio crackled from somewhere in the fog. My voice bled through, sharp, urgent. You have to finish it. I froze. The sound wasn't distant. It came from inside the open grave. I stumbled back, nearly tripping over a headstone. The figures didn't move, didn't flinch, just watched. The flashlight flickered. When it steadied, one of them was gone. My chest tightened. I spun left, empty space. Right, nothing. The beam darted back to the grave. The missing figure was inside it, kneeling in the soil. Still faceless, still blank, its hands pressed into the earth like it was praying. Slowly, its head lifted toward me, the skin rippled. A mouth tore itself open where none had been, and in my voice it spoke. Finish what you started. I staggered backward, boots sliding on wet grass. My shoulder slammed against a stone so hard it knocked the air out of me. When I looked up, the grave was empty again. Smooth, silent. But the shovel was back in my hand. Cold, heavy. The whispering grew until it filled the night, voices rising from the fog, from the soil, from the stones themselves. Dig! 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 My arms moved on their own. The shovel bit the dirt, each strike harder, faster. Sweat stung my eyes, my breath came ragged. Dirt piled higher at my feet, but the pit never seemed to deepen. No matter how much I dug, it stayed the same. Dark, hollow, endless. Until the flashlight slipped from my pocket and tumbled in. It hit the bottom with a dull clatter. The beam pointed upward, throwing the grave into stark relief. And for the first time, I saw it clearly. Bodies. Dozens of them. Packed tight in the soil, skin gray and stretched, eyes open wide. All of them were me.
The light shone up from the bottom of the grave, and I couldn't look away. Bodies. Dozens of them. Piled together like discarded dolls, their limbs tangled, their eyes staring blankly into the beam. And every single face was mine. Some were older, lined with age and exhaustion. Some younger, eyes wide in terror. A few mouths hung open in silent screams, teeth chipped, tongues blackened with soil. But they were all me. The air stank of damp earth and rot. My stomach twisted, my knees buckled. I whispered, No, this isn't real.
One of the faces moved. Its lips twitched. Its chest rose shallowly, dirt shifting across its ribs. Then another blinked, and another. The whole pit writhed. Dozens of me, gasping through soil, eyes rolling upward, arms jerking weakly. The whispers surged, louder, layered, my own voices overlapping until they were deafening. Join us, join us, join us. I staggered back, nearly falling over the mound. My hands clawed at the grass, slick with dew and dirt. The shovel slipped from my grip, sliding into the grave. A hand, one of mine, shot up from the pile and caught it midair. Fingers curled around the handle, clutching it tight. Then it pointed the blade straight at me. I screamed, stumbled to my feet and ran. The fog swallowed me whole. Stones loomed on either side, names unreadable, shapes twisting. Every step felt wrong, like the ground tilted beneath me. Behind me, the earth shifted, heavy, dragging. Footsteps. I glanced back. Figures crawled from the open grave. My figures, dozens, climbing, pulling themselves free of the soil. Blank eyes locked on me, jaws working silently. I ran faster. The gravel path crunched under my boots, but no matter which way I turned, the rows stretched the same. Angel statues leaned close, their wings broken, their faces warped. I burst into the clearing where the shack stood. Relief surged until I saw the window. My reflection waited there. It wasn't copying me this time. It was grinning, lips stretched until they split. Blood leaked from the corners, dripping down the glass. Inside, the logbook lay open on the desk. Pages flipped wildly as though caught in a storm. I yanked the door open, slammed it behind me, and pressed my back to the wall. My chest heaved, my throat burned. The logbook snapped still. The page held one sentence in bold black letters. You belong in the earth. The lights flickered. The radio screamed to life, static tearing through the room. My voice came through, dozens of them at once, each one fractured, overlapping. Bury yourself, bury yourself, bury yourself. The floor trembled. Dirt sifted from the ceiling. The shack groaned as if sinking. And outside, through the glass, the faceless figures gathered. Dozens now, hundreds, their heads cocked in the same broken angle, watching, waiting. I shut my eyes, but in the darkness, I still saw the pit. All those faces, all of them, mine.
I couldn't stay in the shack. The walls shuddered, the logbook breathed like something alive, and the voices pouring from the radio were digging into my skull. So I ran. I yanked the door open and stumbled into the night. The fog swallowed me whole, damp and cold, clinging to my clothes. My flashlight beam was weak now, flickering like it was dying. But I knew where I was going, straight for the front gate. The cemetery's iron gate stood at the top of the hill, heavy and rusted. If I could reach them, I could get to the road, to the truck, to safety. Gravel crunched under my boots as I followed the path. Statues loomed out of the mist like broken guardians, their stone faces cracked, their wings drooping. My breath tore through the silence. At last, the gates loomed ahead, tall and black against the fog. My chest surged with relief. I reached for the chains. They rattled. Cold iron bit into my hands. And then, I saw it. The lock. It wasn't the one I'd seen when I started my shift. This one was thicker, newer, gleaming wet like it had just been fastened. The keyhole gaped, dark and empty. My keys, gone since the first hour, flashed through my mind. I yanked the chains until my hands bled, pulled until my muscles screamed. The gate didn't move. Then a voice whispered from the fog, close behind me. Now, you can't leave. I spun, flashlight jerking wildly. Figures lined the path, dozens of them, standing between the graves, heads tilted, faceless skin gleaming pale. They didn't move, didn't breathe, but I knew they were waiting. The whisper came again, this time from every direction at once. "You belong here." My pulse pounded. I staggered back against the gate, clutching the iron until my knuckles burned. The flashlight flickered, sputtered, and died. Darkness smothered me. I heard the crunch of gravel, slow, steady. Footsteps, drawing closer. My hands fumbled in the dark until they found the chain again. I shook it violently, praying for a miracle, praying the lock would snap. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Then a single breath brushed my ear. My breath. "You'll never leave the hill." I screamed, swinging the dead flashlight wildly in the dark. My knuckles connected with something solid. A figure staggered, faceless head tilting before it straightened again. And then they all moved. The row of blank watchers stepped forward as one. Slow, unstoppable. I shoved my back harder against the gate, iron digging into my spine, legs trembling. My heart thundered in my chest, each beat a countdown. The whispers swelled, a chant now, layered and endless. "Stay, stay, stay." Through the fog, through the black, I saw a face emerge. My face, smiling. And in my own voice, it whispered the words that turned my blood to ice.
The gate pressed cold against my back, but it may as well have been a wall of stone. No matter how hard I pulled, no matter how much blood slicked my palms, it didn't move. The faceless watchers crept closer. Their feet didn't crunch the gravel. They slid, silent. Their heads tilted further, necks bending like broken branches. I whispered to myself, "Wake up, just wake up." But I didn't. The one wearing my face stopped at the front of the crowd. It smiled, teeth glistening sharp in the moonlight. My voice poured from its mouth, steady and calm. "Come back, where you belong." I shook my head. No, I don't belong here. I'm alive. I'm alive." Its smile widened. "Not for long." The ground beneath my boots shifted. Gravel gave way to something soft, damp. I looked down. My feet were sinking. The earth opened slow round my ankles, pulling me down inch by inch. Cold soil seeped into my boots, clinging like hands. I screamed, clawing at the chains, yanking until the links cut deep into my skin. The crowd just watched, their blank faces tilted, as the ground swallowed me to the knees. And then, sudden silence. The whispers cut out, the figures froze. The soil released me. My legs trembled as I staggered free, gasping, heart thundering. I bolted sideways, into the fog, away from the gate, away from them. I didn't care where, I just ran. The mist swallowed me. Gravestones whipped past in streaks of gray. Every direction looked the same, until I saw it. The shack. It stood in the fog like a beacon, its single window glowing with pale yellow light. Relief surged through me. Somehow I'd circled back. I sprinted to the door, flung it open, and stumbled inside. And froze. I was already there, sitting at the desk, writing in the logbook. My back hunched, my hand moving in jagged strokes. The other me didn't look up, didn't react, just kept writing. I edged closer, breath shallow. The pen scratched furiously across the paper. Words filled the page in black ink. "You came back. You always come back. You will always come back." I whispered, "What are you?" The other me stopped writing. Slowly, its head turned. The face that looked up at me was mine, but pale, hollow-eyed, lips split and bloody from smiling too wide.
In my own voice, it said, "You're not the guard, you're the grave." Before I could move, the lights flickered, the wood groaned, splintering like it was about to collapse into the earth. The other me dropped the pen, reached across the desk, and grabbed my wrist. Its grip was cold, damp, unbreakable. And in that instant, I swore I felt soil pressing against my chest, like I was already underground.
The grip on my wrist was ice. Not like flesh. Like damp earth packed tight. I yanked, twisted, clawed at its fingers, but they didn't budge. The other me stared up from the desk, smile cracked and bleeding, eyes dull as stone. Its voice was calm, steady. "You're not on watch. You're part of it." I shook my head violently. No, I took this job last week. I'm alive. I'm real." Its smile widened. "Last week, last month, last year. You've taken this job 100 times." The words lodged in my chest like a stone. I tried to speak, but my throat locked. The shack groaned around us. Boards creaked, dust sifted down, and the floor swelled upward in places, like the earth below was trying to push inside. The other me leaned closer. Its breath smelled of rot and damp clay. "You walk the rows, you hear the whispers, you dig the grave, and when you die, you join us. That's the only watch there is." I wrenched my arm free. The skin where it touched me was pale and bruised, already cold. I staggered back against the wall, chest heaving. My flashlight beam cut across the logbook. The page was full. Line after line written in my own hand, words I hadn't written. "I will keep watch. I will dig. I will return." Over and over until the letters bled into one another. I slammed the book shut, but the words kept echoing in my head. I grabbed the flashlight and bolted from the shack. The fog was thicker now, heavy as water, pressing into my lungs. The graves leaned closer, stones warped, names shifting. I stumbled down the path, trying to remember the way, any way out. But every turn led back to row 11. The fresh mound waited there, darker now, damp soil slick with dew. And around it, the faceless figures gathered again. More of them this time. A ring, dozens strong, their heads tilted in unison as my beam touched them. My knees buckled. "Why me?" I shouted, voice breaking. "Why do you want me?" The figures didn't answer. The earth did. The mound split open. Soil poured away, collapsing inward to reveal the pit again. But this time it was deeper, blacker, endless. The whisper rose from below, louder than ever. My voice, layered 100 times, echoing up from the dark. "You are us. You always were." Hands clawed from the soil, mine, all mine, reaching upward, pale fingers stretching. The ground trembled. I stumbled forward without meaning to, as if the earth itself pulled me. The flashlight flickered, died. Darkness swallowed me. The only light was from below, faint and sickly, spilling from the pit like a pulse. It painted the faceless ones in pale glow. And for the first time, they moved. Slow, silent, stepping closer, step by step until the circle closed tight around me. I couldn't run, couldn't scream. And then from the pit, I heard it. My own voice whispering clear, sharp, final. "Bury yourself."
The circle closed around me, faceless figures pressed in, their blank heads cocked at the same broken angle. The fog swirled thick, muffling even my own ragged breaths. The
The pit gaped at my feet, black and endless, whispering in my own voice, "Bury yourself, bury yourself." My hands shook. I tried to back away, but the figure shifted, sliding silently to block every step. Then I felt it. The weight of the shovel in my hand. I don't remember picking it up. I don't remember carrying it here, but it was there, heavy, damp, wood slick with something that wasn't just water. I dropped it. It clattered against the stone path. The sound cracked through the fog like a gunshot. Instantly, the whispers stopped. The silence was worse. Every faceless head tilted further, necks bending until I thought they'd snap. The ring pressed closer, bodies stiff, arms swaying. The shovel lifted from the ground. On its own. It hovered in the air before me, dripping soil, blade angled down. Slowly, it turned until the handle pointed at my chest. The whispers returned, layered, urgent. Dig, dig, dig. I stumbled back, shaking my head, voice breaking. "No, I won't! I'm not part of this! I'm not one of you!" But the shovel thrust forward, striking the dirt at my feet. A mound formed instantly, soil rising as though shoveled by invisible hands. The earth split, dark, damp, sucking air. My legs trembled, my chest heaved. The faceless ones raised their arms in unison, not pointing at the pit, at me. The whispers sharpened into a single command: dig. My hands moved without permission. They seized the shovel, wrapped tight, muscles straining. I fought it, teeth clenched, tendons burning, but my arms weren't mine anymore. The blade sank into the soil. Cold earth sprayed my boots. Again and again. Each strike drove deeper, faster, the pit widening at my feet. The soil rose in piles around me. My body strained until sweat stung my eyes, but I couldn't stop. My muscles burned, lungs tore, but the shovel didn't pause. The pit deepened. Its breath rose, hot and wet, stinking of rot. Something moved in the dark. Hands. Dozens of them. Mine, all reaching upward. Pale fingers clawing, desperate, grabbing at the shovel, at the soil, at my boots. I screamed, dropping the handle. The pit didn't stop. The soil slid inward, collapsing in waves. A pale face surfaced in the dirt, eyes open, mouth stretched in a silent scream. My face. Another rose beside it, then another. Dozens gasping, choking on soil. The whispers drowned into one echoing roar. You belong with us. The ground shifted beneath me. My boots slid, my balance broke, and in a heartbeat, I was falling. Down into the pit. Down into myself.
Crushed under the weight of soil that poured down like water. My flashlight was gone, swallowed by the dark. I clawed at the loose earth, but every handful slipped through my fingers. The pit was alive, closing over me, dragging me deeper. Something moved beneath me. Bodies. I felt them shifting under the soil, pressing against my ribs, brushing my face with cold, damp hands. Their mouths opened, dirt spilling out. Their eyes rolled upward to meet mine. All of them were me. I kicked, twisted, screaming until my throat tore. Hands seized my arms, my legs, my chest. Some soft, some brittle, bones breaking under their own grip, but they all pulled down. The soil filled my mouth. My lungs burned. My ears roared with 100 whispers at once. Stay with us. Stay. Stay.
I thrashed, desperate, until my hand struck something solid, the shovel. My fingers closed around it like a lifeline. I swung wildly, striking at the faces beneath me. Each blow split them open, but no blood spilled, only more soil. Their jaws cracked wider, stretching, and still they smiled. I shoved upward, forcing the blade into the earth above. My arms burned, muscles screaming, but the soil gave way. A shaft of pale moonlight pierced the dark. Air. I clawed toward it, dragging myself through the collapsing pit. Hands scraped at my back, tore at my legs, but I pulled free, gasping, choking, covered head to toe in dirt. I rolled onto the grass, lungs on fire, chest heaving. The night air stung, damp and cold. The pit behind me was gone. The ground was smooth again, grave perfect, mound unbroken. My body shook, my throat ached, my mind reeled. Had I imagined it? Had I lost myself in the fog, dug until I passed out? Then I saw the shovel. It lay beside me, blade black, handle slick with something that wasn't mud. My hands trembled as I touched it. The wood was wet, sticky. I lifted it to the moonlight. Blood. Fresh. Dark. Thick. Not mine. The whispers rose again, this time from every direction. From the graves, from the fog, from the trees swaying overhead. You belong here. You always belonged here. Figures emerged from the mist. Dozens. Hundreds. Faceless heads cocked, blank arms swaying. They lined the rows, filled the hill, every path blocked, and in the front stood myself. Not one, not two, scores of me, each one carrying a shovel, each one dripping with blood. My knees buckled, my vision blurred, and the nearest version of me smiled, lips splitting, teeth glistening, and in my own voice, all of them spoke at once. You've already been buried. You just haven't stopped digging.
They began to move. Not fast, not sudden. Slow, measured. Each of my doubles dragging a shovel along the gravel, the metal scraping loud, sharp, steady. Shark, shark. The sound cut through the fog like a blade. I stumbled backward, heart pounding. The real graves, the real stones blurred in the mist. What surrounded me now wasn't Willow Hill anymore. It was something else, a place where the dead wore my skin. I spun left, found a gap, and ran. Boots slipped in wet grass, lungs burning with every breath. The shovel scraped behind me, never faster, never slower, just steady, unstoppable. I glanced back. Dozens of me followed, shovels dragging, faces stretched into grins, blank-eyed, patient, as if they had all the time in the world. The path forked. I chose right, cutting between leaning stones, angels looming with broken wings. The fog parted enough for me to see the shack ahead. For one breath, I felt relief. Then I froze. I was already standing inside the shack. Through the window, I saw myself sitting at the desk again, pen scratching furiously at the logbook. My head snapped up at the same instant I looked in. Two of me. One outside, gasping, filthy, bleeding. One inside, calm, writing, waiting. The me in the shack raised a hand, pointed at me, then smiled. Behind me, the shovel scraped closer.
Shark. Shark. I bolted away from the shack, deeper into the fog. My lungs screamed, my throat burned. Every turn brought me back to row 11, to the fresh grave, to the faceless watchers waiting. No, no, no! My voice cracked, broke. The shovel in my hand grew heavier. My fingers ached. My arms felt pulled down by it, as though the soil itself was dragging me back. Then I heard it. Not behind me, ahead. Shark. Shark. I skidded to a stop, beam jerking upward. Myself. Dozens more of me stood in front, blocking the path. Their shovels scraped in perfect rhythm, eyes glinting faint in the moonlight. I was surrounded. The whispers rose again, overlapping, echoing through the night until it shook the air. Bury yourself, bury yourself, bury yourself. I staggered, knees buckling, chest heaving. I'm not you! I'm not one of you! A laugh answered, my laugh. Low, cruel, endless. The circle of me tightened, shovels lifted, tips glinting wet. Not striking, not yet. Just waiting. I turned in every direction, desperate, searching for a way through. Then I saw it, far beyond the fog, at the top of the hill. A lantern, faint, flickering. Someone else, someone alive. I screamed, voice tearing from my throat. Help, please! The lantern flickered again, then began to move. Closer. The whispers dulled to silence. Every version of me froze, shovels poised, heads tilted. And in the silence, a new voice whispered from the fog. Not mine. You shouldn't have come here.
The lantern bobbed in the fog like a floating star. Each sway of its glow pulled me forward, away from the circle of myself, away from the scraping shovels. I staggered up the path, lungs burning, heart pounding. Every step felt like I was wading through water, the fog thickening, pressing into my skin. But the light stayed just far enough ahead to keep me moving. "Wait!" I shouted, voice cracking. "Don't leave me here!" The lantern swayed once, slow, almost like a nod. Behind me, the whispers rose again, faint but steady. Dozens of my own voices echoing in the mist. Stay, stay, stay. I didn't look back. The path narrowed, stones leaning inward like crooked teeth. The ground grew soft, marshy, sucking at my boots. I pushed harder, keeping my eyes locked on the lantern. It led me into the oldest part of the cemetery. The stones here weren't carved, just slabs of rock, weathered smooth, names long erased. Some leaned at impossible angles, others toppled and half swallowed by earth. The lantern slowed, hung still, and then I saw the hand holding it. Thin, gray. Fingers curled tight around the handle, knuckles like knots of wood. The lantern lifted, revealing a shape behind it. A man, or something like one. Tall, gaunt, wrapped in rags that hung like rotting cloth. His face was shadowed by the hood of his coat, but I saw his mouth. Thin, sharp, and smiling. "You found me," he said, voice low and wet like soil sliding. I froze, every hair on my body rising. Who are you?" He tilted the lantern, light spilling across the graves. The earth shifted under them, bulging, splitting, as though the dead below were restless.
"You are the one who keeps watch," he whispered. "The one before you, the one before all of you." My throat locked. "That's not possible. I'm the guard here. This is my shift." The smile widened. "Your shift? No, this watch never ends. It only passes on." The lantern's flame flared, casting his face in sharp light. My stomach dropped. It was my face. Older, hollowed out, eyes black and sunken, skin cracked like dried clay. I stumbled back, shaking my head. "No, no, you're not me!" The older version stepped closer. "I am, I will be. The watch is a circle. You take it, you lose yourself, you join the earth, and then the next fool comes." The ground groaned beneath us, stones toppling, soil splitting. Pale fingers clawed up through the cracks, dragging bodies behind them. My own faces, gasping, crawling free. The lantern swung, casting their shadows long and broken across the fog. The older me leaned close, his breath cold against my ear. "You can fight it, or you can finish your shift." The shovel scraped again. Shirk, shirk. Dozens of me closing in through the mist. I ran.
I didn't know where I was running anymore. Every row of stones looked the same in the fog. Every path curved back into itself. But the sound followed me. The steady scrape of shovels, the whisper of my own voice echoing from every grave. Stang, stang, stay. My lungs burned, my legs shook. I stumbled between two leaning slabs and found myself staring at a stairwell I'd never seen before. Stone steps led down into the earth. An iron gate hung open at the bottom, yawning black. I hesitated, chest heaving. Every part of me screamed not to go down, but behind me the shovels dragged closer, louder, until sparks lit the gravel. I didn't have a choice. I descended. The air grew colder with each step, damp, heavy with the smell of old stone and rot. My boots echoed off the walls, hollow and sharp. The stairwell opened into a crypt. Rows of alcoves lined the walls, each holding a coffin stacked in damp stone niches. Some wood had rotted to splinters, bones spilling through the cracks. The silence was thick, broken only by the drip of water somewhere far off. I lifted my flashlight. Its beam jittered across names carved into stone, dates from centuries ago. Some were scratched out, some were blank. And one bore my name. I froze. My chest locked. The letters were carved deep, fresh, as though made tonight. My hand trembled as I touched the stone. The name was cold, too real. The whisper came again, this time from inside the coffin itself. "We're waiting." The lid shifted just an inch. A pale hand slid out, fingers long, nails black with soil. It reached for me, grasping. I stumbled back, flashlight beam flailing. The other alcoves groaned, wood cracked, lid shifted, hands pressed outward from every coffin. Fingers clawed at the air, stretching toward me. Dozens of voices rose, all mine. "Join us, join us, join us." I spun toward the stairwell, but the way up was gone. The steps ended in a solid wall of earth. No gate, no light. My breath caught. Panic clawed at my chest. The crypt trembled, dust raining from the ceiling. Coffin lids burst open, soil spilling across the floor. Bodies dragged themselves free. My bodies. Some skeletal, some fresh, some rotted and crawling with worms. They pulled themselves toward me, mouths opening wide, black soil pouring out as they whispered, "You can't leave. You never leave." I backed into the center of the crypt, lantern shaking.
My doubles circled me, rising from every alcove, faces warped with death, but still mine. Then, at the far end, another figure stepped into the lantern glow. The older version of me, the one I'd seen above, lantern still swinging in his hand, face cracked and hollow, smile splitting his jaw. He raised the light high, shadows stretching across the walls. "This is where the watch always ends," he whispered. And then the floor gave way.
The floor crumbled beneath me. I fell through darkness, arms flailing, soil and stone collapsing with me. My scream tore through the air, swallowed by the black. Then I hit. Hard. The impact knocked the air from my lungs. I lay still, ears ringing, chest heaving, dust choking my throat. My flashlight clattered somewhere in the dark, beams spinning wildly across stone walls. I wasn't in the crypt anymore. This place was older, much older. Bones surrounded me, stacked in endless rows along the walls, skulls staring with hollow sockets, ribs and femurs piled like bricks. The air reeked of age, dry and bitter, the dust of centuries packed into every breath. An ossuary. I staggered to my feet, knees shaking, light trembling across the towers of bones. Some skulls were carved with symbols I didn't understand. Circles, crosses, lines etched deep into brittle surfaces. And some weren't carved at all. They bore my face. Dozens of skulls grinned back at me, cheekbones sharp, jaws wide, empty sockets carved into the same shape as mine. My stomach lurched. My knees buckled. No. The beam caught movement. A skull shifted, jaw clicking open. Another beside it. Then another. One by one, they all began to chatter, teeth clacking in a rhythm that echoed through the chamber. Click, 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 until it became words. Stay, stay, stay. The rows of bones groaned, shifting as if alive. Skulls tumbled from the stacks, rolling across the stone floor. Their jaws opened wide, whispering in my own voice, "You are one of us, always one of us." I stumbled backward, tripping over femurs. My boot crushed a rib cage, splintering it into dust. From the corner of the chamber, a glow stirred. The lantern. It swung low, its light cutting shadows across the walls. The older version of me stepped into view again. His face was cracked, pale, eyes sunk deep like pits. He raised the lantern high, and the ossuary stirred like a hive. Bones rattled, skulls clattered, whispers rose in a deafening chorus. "You cannot leave. You cannot leave. You cannot leave." I pressed my hands to my ears, screaming, "I'm not one of you!" The older me smiled, his teeth broken and black. "You already are. You took the watch. You dug the grave. You opened the earth." The skulls rattled louder, their hollow mouths grinning. Some split wider, bone cracking until the sockets warped into crude parodies of eyes. And all of them were mine. The floor shifted beneath me, bones rolled away, tumbling into a pit at the center of the chamber. A black hole yawned wide, endless, sucking air into its depths. The whisper surged from below, low and final. Fall. The ground gave way. My body slid, tumbling into the dark. The last thing I saw before the lantern's light vanished was my own skull, grinning down at me, jaw hanging loose, as it whispered, "You were always buried here."
I fell forever. The pit swallowed me whole, air ripping past my ears, lungs burning as though the fall itself dragged the breath from me.
My arms flailed in the dark, but there was nothing to grab, no end to touch, just black. Then, impact. I struck soil, soft and damp, the ground giving way beneath me before it hardened again. I gasped, chest aching, every limb trembling. My flashlight was gone. My voice was gone. Only the dark remained. Until the hum began. Low, deep, like the sound of the turbines at Black Hollow Dam, only thicker, heavier, resonating through my bones. It rose from the earth itself, vibrating in my skull. The darkness shifted. I wasn't alone. Shapes moved around me, tall, thin, twisting in the dark. Too many joints, too many limbs. They circled slow, their edges blurred like smoke, their bodies pressing close but never touching. The whispers returned, my whispers. You are the soil. You are the stone. You are the watch. I pressed my hands over my ears, shaking my head. No, no, I won't. Hands slid over mine, cold, damp, dozens of them. They pushed my arms down, pinning me. And then I saw it. The core. A mass rose from the pit ahead, pulsing faintly with sickly light. Not stone, not flesh, something between. A knot of bodies fused together, twisting in a column that stretched upward into the dark. Faces surfaced from it, stretching the skin, mouths opening in silent screams before sinking back into the mass. All the faces were mine, hundreds of them, each one mouthing the same words, stay, stay, stay. The light flickered across their eyes, blank, dead, endless. My stomach heaved, bile burning my throat. From the core, one shape tore free. It landed on the soil before me, unfolding tall and crooked. Its head tilted, its body bending in angles no human should. When it leaned closer, I saw my own face stretched across it, pale and grinning. It spoke in my voice. You never left. You never will. I screamed, lunging backward, but hands caught me again. The figures pressed in, faceless heads tilting. Their fingers gripped my shoulders, my arms, my legs, holding me still. The crooked version of me raised its hand. Soil dripped from its fingers like blood. The core pulsed harder. The ground beneath me split, soil cracking, pulling apart to reveal a coffin. Old, rotting. Its lid swung open, creaking. Inside was a body. Me. Eyes closed, hands folded over the chest, face pale, lips cracked. But the chest rose and fell, faint, shallow, alive. I screamed until my throat tore. The figures lifted me, dragged me forward, closer to the open box. The smell of rot and damp wood choked me. The core whispered with all its mouths at once, "Finish the watch." And then they lowered me into the coffin.
The coffin's wood groaned as they lowered me in, damp, splintered. It creaked like it remembered every body that had ever lain inside it. My back pressed against rotted silk. The smell was thick, mildew, soil, and something older, sour, choking my lungs. The crooked version of me stood above the box, head tilted, face stretched into that broken grin. The core pulsed behind it, light throbbing like a heartbeat. The faceless ones leaned over me, lowering the lid. "No! Stop! I'm not dead! I'm not—" The words caught in my throat as soil poured across my face. They weren't filling the coffin with wood and nails. They were filling it with earth. Cold, wet, heavy. It pressed into my eyes, my nose, my mouth. I coughed, choked, thrashed, but the hands held me still. The shovel clattered onto my chest. Mine. Always mine. The whispers came from the soil itself now,
vibrating through every grain, every clod that landed on my body. Finish it. Finish it. Finish it. My hands moved without me. They gripped the shovel, pressed it across my chest like a sword laid for burial. The lid slammed shut. Darkness. Total. The weight of earth pressed down, heavier with every second. My ribs creaked, my lungs screamed. I gasped for air and swallowed mud. Above me, faint, muffled, came the sound of shovels. Dozens of them, striking the ground in rhythm. Shriek, shriek, shriek. Every strike shook the coffin, rattling my teeth, crushing my chest. And then, between the strikes, a voice whispered through the soil. My own voice. You've done this before. You'll do it again. Tears burned my eyes. No, please, I don't want this. The voice chuckled, low, cruel. It doesn't matter what you want. The coffin shifted. Something moved beside me. My arm brushed against flesh, cold, damp. I turned my head, choking on soil, and saw it. Another body lying in the coffin with me. Me. Eyes open, mouth stretched in a silent scream, skin pale and peeling. Its chest rose with mine, in perfect rhythm, as though we shared one breath. I thrashed, kicked, screamed into the soil, but every movement sank me deeper into it. My body was no longer my own. My chest slowed, my pulse dulled, and in the black, I heard dozens of my own voices whispering, layered and endless. You are the watch. You are the grave. You are the earth. The soil pressed harder. My ribs cracked. My vision swam. And just before the darkness claimed me, I felt the other me beside me turn its head. Its lips brushed my ear, and in my voice, it whispered, "See you next shift."
I woke to silence. No soil pressed against me, no weight on my chest, just cool night air filling my lungs. For a moment, I thought it had been a dream, a terrible, endless dream. My eyes opened slow, stinging with tears and dirt. I was back in the guard shack. The chair creaked under me. The logbook lay open on the desk, pen resting neatly in the crease. The lamp glowed warm, casting soft light across the walls. The radio hummed faint static. Everything looked normal. Too normal. I sat up slowly, every bone aching. My boots left clumps of damp soil on the floor. My clothes were torn, soaked in mud. My hands shook. I looked at the logbook. The page wasn't blank. Shift begins 12 a.m., written in my handwriting. Below it, another line appeared, ink scratching across the paper by itself. Witness, not hero. My chest tightened, my throat locked. The radio crackled, voice spilling through the static, calm, routine. Control to Willow Hill, shift check. Everything quiet? My hand reached for the mic. I didn't want to touch it, didn't want to answer, but my fingers moved anyway, as if pulled by invisible strings. I pressed the button. My own voice came out, steady, casual. Willow Hill to Control, all quiet. The words echoed back a second later, not from the radio, from outside. The window fogged. A face leaned against the glass. My face, smiling. I dropped the mic, heart hammering. My pulse thundered in my ears.
The reflection outside tilted its head, lips moving. I couldn't hear the words until I realized I wasn't supposed to, because I was the one saying them. The words slipped from my mouth without my control, soft and steady. Everything quiet? The reflection mouthed the same, in perfect rhythm. I stumbled to my feet, backing toward the door. My boots left streaks of mud across the shack floor. The lamp flickered. The logbook flipped pages on its own. Each page filled with the same line, written over and over. Keep the watch. Keep the watch. Keep the watch. The radio hissed again, voices layered, a chorus of myself. You never left. You never will. The shift never ends. The ground trembled beneath the shack. Boards creaked. The smell of earth seeped in through the cracks, damp and cold. I pressed my hands to my ears, shaking my head. No, I'm alive. I made it out. The door creaked open behind me. I spun, and there I was, stepping inside, lantern in hand, face cracked and hollow, smiling wide. He set the lantern on the desk beside the logbook, leaned close, and whispered in my ear, "Shift change."
Lantern's glow filled the shack, shadows stretching long across the walls. The older version of me stood there, silent, smiling. The lines of his face were cracked like dried earth, his eyes black pits, his grin too wide. I pressed myself against the far wall, chest heaving. "Stay away from me! You're not real!" His laugh was dry, brittle, like bones snapping underfoot. "Not real?" He tilted his head. "Then why do you remember me?" The logbook flipped open, pages fluttering until it landed on one. My own handwriting filled it. Dates, notes, patrols, hours logged. Years of them. I staggered closer, shaking my head. The earliest entry was dated decades ago, still written in my hand. No, that's impossible. I wasn't even born. The lantern swayed. His voice cut through me like a knife. You were born here, in the soil, in the stone. You are the watch, and you always will be. The words sank into me like hooks. My chest tightened, my breath ragged. The shack tilted, spinning as if the earth itself was pulling me down. The older me stepped closer, lantern casting his grin in pale firelight. He pressed the handle into my hand. The wood was warm, heavy, alive. The moment I touched it, the whispers surged through my skull. Shift begins. Shift begins. Shift begins. My throat locked. My lips moved without me. Midnight check. All quiet. I clamped my mouth shut, shaking my head, fighting it, but the words forced themselves out. Patrol complete. No disturbance. The logbook wrote itself, pen scratching across the page, recording every word I spoke. I screamed, grabbed the book and hurled it across the room. It hit the wall, fell open on the floor. Pages flipped back to the first entry. The handwriting was mine, always mine. The ground trembled, dust rained from the ceiling. Outside, the shovel scraped again, steady, rhythmic. Shriek, shriek, shriek. The faceless ones pressed against the windows, blank heads, cocked, hands leaving wet smears on the glass. I spun toward the older me, lantern glow blinding. Why me? Why this? His grin widened. Because you said yes. My knees buckled, my vision blurred. The lantern flickered, flame bending low, then flaring high. Through the window, I saw the fresh grave again. The mound rose, swelled, split. Hands clawed upward, pulling bodies free. All of them me. The whispers drowned the room, deafening, endless. Keep the watch. Keep the watch. Keep the watch. The older me leaned close, his cracked lips brushing my ear. You're almost ready. And for the first time, I realized he wasn't smiling at me.
The lantern burned low. The older me stood by the door, shadows stretching across the shack walls. His cracked grin didn't move, but the whispers filled the room. Dozens of voices, hundreds, all mine. Finish the watch. Finish the watch. The logbook lay open on the desk, pages black with ink, words crawling like worms across the paper. The pen scraped on its own, writing the last entry in jagged strokes. Shift ends, 6 a.m. But the clock on the wall never moved. The hands stuck at midnight, always midnight. I staggered forward, lantern heavy in my grip. My chest burned. My skin felt too tight, like it belonged to someone else. Outside, the faceless ones gathered, filling the hill, their heads cocked, bodies swaying. The scrape of shovels echoed like a heartbeat. Shark, shirk. I pressed my face to my hands, shaking my head. I won't become this. But when I pulled my hands away, they weren't mine anymore. Pale, cold, fingernails black with soil. The older me stepped closer, lantern held high, his grin split wider, cracking his skin until it bled. He whispered calm, "You already are." The ground shook, the shack groaned, boards split as soil forced its way through the cracks. The earth was alive, rising, hungry. The floor burst open, a pit yawned wide beneath me. I dropped the lantern, it clattered against the dirt, flames sputtering. The light cast my shadow long across the walls. Only it wasn't my shadow. It was taller, crooked, grinning. Hands seized my arms, my legs, my chest, cold, damp, dragging me down. I screamed, thrashed, kicked, but the soil swallowed me whole. The last thing I saw was the logbook lying on the desk above, its page turned, blank, waiting. The pen lifted, and in my voice, it wrote the final line. The guard is dead. The watch continues. Darkness closed over me. Soil filled my mouth, my lungs, my eyes. And in that silence, I understood. I had never been alive here.